Hello, today I'm going to take you through a little bit of setup on the Singer Classic 44S model sewing machine. And first off, the power button is on the right hand side, and this is the cord. The little divots go up towards the sky, and you plug it in right here. Make sure that it's nice and snug. Then you can turn on the power button, and we have our spool of thread and our bobbin. Take your spool of thread, undo it, make sure that it is coming over toward you like this as you load it onto the pin. Then place the cap on the side of the pin so that it does not slide off. Have your bobbin handy. Put your thread into the first setting. See the number 1 on top and put your thread through that hook. Here's how we do that. It actually just did it for itself. Take that and it goes in there. Then pull the thread up towards this tension guide. The tension guide gives you a little bit of an instruction right here. It says to come on the right side, then wrap around to the left, go to the back side, and then come over to here to where the bobbin is going to spin. So I'm going to do that. Pull it behind there, pull, scoot to the end of my thread. I already have a little bit of thread on here. I'm going to try to keep it on here. And then I'm going to slide the thread through one of the eyes, one of the holes on the bobbin. Snap it into the place on the pin while the pin is in the left position. Notice that that pin can be either right or left. And you want the pin in the left position so that you can slide the bobbin on it. When you get it on, then slide back to the right. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can wrap the thread around the bobbin shaft, or the easiest way that I have found to do it for myself is to just hold the two ends like this. But you can wrap this side of the thread around that multiple times to get it to hold, and then use the presser foot to start it. The presser foot is down here underneath the table. I'll press it, I'll hold on to these threads, I'll go slow at first, then once I know that it is caught, I will let go, and then I'll begin to let it wind. And I will let my fingers guide it until it gets taut, and then I just let the bobbin take it from there. So I will continue to feed the bobbin with my presser foot. If I feel like the bobbin is not feeding equally, I'll use my finger or my seam ripper to just guide it and let it fill in the correct gaps, and then that way that it is equally loaded. Okay, that should be good enough. On my specialty threads, I try to not fill the bobbin all the way because the thread can be quite expensive, and sometimes I'm going to be using more spool thread than I would be bobbin thread, so I want the majority of my thread to remain on the original spool. I can always reload the bobbin at later times. So in this case, since it's a special color, it's not black or white, it's green, I'm just going to load the bobbin halfway. Okay, now take the pin and slide it to the left, lift up and remove it, unwind it from the tension guide, and we want to cut it. If you'll notice on the side over here, this little notch has a knife behind it. This is a safety cover. I'll take it, slide it down in there, and cut. So my bobbin is free. So let's thread the sewing machine from the original spot of the spool. Keep it in position 1. And the great thing about these machines is that they are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Everything is labeled so that you have a good reminder on the procedure to thread the machine. So 2, it takes you behind this thread guide back here. and you come forward, bring it down and to the left and then up, and on the right side of this arm, then bring it behind the arm and into the arm. Here is the point where you want to make sure that that thread is in that tension guide properly. So what I do is I hold my spool so that it does not continue to unwind, and I pull on the thread to make sure that it is in the position behind this framing that's hiding the actual equipment that's doing the work. I want to make sure that that thread is down in that arm and in that guide specifically. So bring it down into position 6. And underneath here, you're going to see a small arm underneath the main holding bracket of this needle. You're going to see a little arm, and you want to take that thread and get it behind that arm and hook it in there. That is not a closed arm, it is an open arm on the back right side. Just get that thread with your finger behind that, just a slight push, and it comes on around. Now I want to thread the needle. You may have to wet the end, or in cases like today, you may want to just cut it with scissors. But now we will thread it from front to back. If you need to get a threading helper, you can. They do make little guides, and I may have to do that with this one, but I don't have it with me. So let's get this loaded. Great, got it. Take that thread, pull it all the way through, and I like to rewind the thread. I only need about 4 to 5 inches. Generally what I like to do is like to leave a little bit of a tail hanging over the edge of the machine, and that should be good enough for when the machine starts to wind and push the needle down, it will pull up some thread. So you want to make sure that you have enough of a tail that it does not come out when you begin to sew because of the motion of the needle going up and down. Now I want to take my bobbin and I want to load it into this little well right here. It actually has a guide on the plastic cover. Over here on the right is a little button that you slide, a little slider button that you slide to the right. It pops up this window, and you will tell right here, it has a little diagram of how to load the thread. You want to make sure that the thread is coming off what they call cascading to your left, not to your right. Hold it up and lay it down into the well while the thread is cascading to the left. Following the diagram on the window, you want to come around to the center of the well, and you'll notice a little hook in the lower left corner, and you want to bring it into that hook, bring it behind, and you're loaded. Then take the window and slide it back into the well, and now that part is done. Next, we are ready to, I want to go ahead and make sure that my thread is pulled through the machine, so I will come over here to the wheel on the right hand side. And what I like to do is I like to make sure that I don't lose my thread up through my needle, so I will turn the wheel and hold the thread, and it did grab my bobbin thread. I take my seam ripper and I pull that on out and through. You can leave the thread in an up position out from underneath the presser foot. With this presser foot, you can actually slide the thread in between that slot and on out the back. Then I make sure that I have my 2 pieces of thread together, and then I grab up my material, I set it underneath there, and I feed it and begin. Okay, one more thing to address before we get done here discussing the basics of threading the sewing machine is if you have a little screwdriver, there's a couple of little things that you want to make sure of. You will have over here on the left hand side of the presser foot arm, you have a screw that you can take this presser foot off and put on an alternate foot. That is just fine. You get you a little screwdriver, a little flat tip screwdriver, and you turn left. Remember this tip, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Okay, remember that. So you just take your foot off and put it back on. Right now I don't have a little screwdriver, so we're just gonna let you experiment with that on your own. If you need to take out a needle, right now I'm going to unload this thread, and I'm going to show you how to remove the needle and put it back in. Notice right here that there is a little handle here for a turn pin. Again, in your mind, pretend that you're looking at this pin from inside here. You're going to turn it lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So we're going to turn left to remove that needle. Turn the pin left, and it will loosen around that pin, around that needle, and the needle will drop out. You want to hold on to your needle as it's dropping out. What way do I load my needle? Notice on the back side of the needle, the way that you can tell if it's the back is it should be flat. The flat side is the back side of the needle. So take that flat side, put it away from you, stick it in front of the presser foot and up into the hole of that needle arm. Then turn that pin to the right. Again, righty-tighty. Turn it right, make it snug. Don't snap it too hard. Don't turn too hard. Just nice and snug, okay? Get a nice turn. So, those are the basics of loading the bobbin and the spool for a Singer Classic 44S. And happy sewing!